Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we are working on my debugger, and today's topic is trying to write a QML GUI for this thing. So context for the project is that I saw at some point a breakpoint, and I was like, how the fuck does a breakpoint work? And, in order to solve that question, we obviously have to implement a debugger ourselves. And the way it does that is actually pretty interesting. I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but we've kind of got into the point now where we can debug an application. Well, we can't really debug it. We can run an application like it's being debugged. So if we have this zig out bin debuggy, we have this thing. We have a program. It prints some stuff, and he prints some stuff in a loop. Simple. Hello world, print some stuff in a loop, goodbye. I just realized that my test is going to not be useful, so just give me 1 sec to comment something else. If we run our debugger on this thing, we can basically ask it to breakpoint at these two functions. Do print loop 2. If we run this, we then see that okay, so we hit a breakpoint at this line in our source code. Here are our local variables with their types, and then we can single step a little bit. So we single step, we end up in some other function. We step again, we end up in that function. We print the local variables again, and we keep going. This is a good proof of concept to prove to ourselves that the technical pieces of the debugger work, but it's not useful in any way, shape, or form. And so we need to hook this thing up to a GUI so that we can poke and prod memory interactively, and set breakpoints interactively and all that stuff. So that is today's topic. Yesterday or 2 days ago, we kind of did the start of this. I wanted to look at the idea of integrating a QML application with Zig because QML or Qt is a pretty big GUI framework. I wanted to see how well it jives. And to do that, we pulled some sample code from Qt's stuff here. So we have this main QML. Very simple. He's got a window. He prints some text on it, and that text is backed by let's see. We have GUI CPP, I think. Run GUI. He basically says I'm going to construct this singleton type, and I'm going to feed that into QML and say hey, this is a thing that we're allowed to work with, and then we just back that with a Q object in app.h here. Yeah, so this is the definition of this thing. Doesn't really matter too much, but where we got stuck last stream was that this example worked great if we built it manually, on the command line with GCC. But as soon as we integrated with the Zig's build system, things started going horribly wrong. We had this weird seg fault just deep down in the Qt stack. And we eventually broke it down to the point where we had this compile script that was a kind of stripped down version of what Zig produces when it's compiling C++. And we notice when we look at this that we are ending up using libcxx built by Zig, which is part of the way Zig is supposed to work. It bundles this Clang and it lets you build everything from source, which means that cross compilation is really easy because it has everything it needs to do to cross compile. And as part of that process, it builds standard lib standard C++. Great, but that just meant that the Qt version that was shipped by my distro was using a different standard C++ library, and they happened to link okay, which was surprising, but they did not seem to work well together. Now, that's the working theory based off of this command line that reproduces the issue. But we didn't ever really prove that. But what I did prove was that if I compile Qt from source using Zig's build system, and I ask it to build with this wrapper of Zig C++, but with a couple arguments stripped out because Qt passes arguments that Zig doesn't support, we do find that we can run the application. So I did that off stream. I apologize for that, but it was just I think I worked on this from stream till I went to sleep, and it was just so much just building. It's really boring stuff, so it wasn't worth doing on stream. But we just I built it with Zig, and now our little GUI test does in fact work built by Zig, which is a big win for us. And so now we're in a state where we can actually put our GUI. But I just thought I should talk about the fix there before we get into it. So basically what we have is we are starting from very close to scratch, right? We have a hello world application. We just need to adapt it to work with our debugger in some way, shape, or form. So that is the plan. And I think the first thing we want to do is let's just show the current breakpoint in the UI. I think that's like a good little initial piece. So the way QML works, for those of you who weren't here a couple days ago, is it's like this like declarative language that's a lot, it's like very JavaScripty. You can do things like, and you can go in here and you can write console log hello world and stuff, right? Like, and you can write JavaScript functions to do stuff, but like overall, it's kind of like also kind of half JSON-esque, where you just have like things that like show up at the root of the file, and you set like properties on these things. And so then you're like, okay, so how do we like actually show anything? Well, we like tie the text property of this text field to this document source thing that comes from C++. So in C++ land, we define this structure that has like some property. These are like Qt is a lot like C++ in that you write C++ use it, but I would kind of argue that Qt is kind of like not C++, because this like Q property macro and Q object macro, these like you have to run this header file through some like weird Qt compiler that like takes anything that any classes that have Q objects and like auto generates some C++ stubs to go with them. So things like they have like this like signal slot mechanism where you say like the Qt event loop is going to like hook things up for you, and you say like, hey, people are going to be listening for some signal to be emitted, like some property changed, right? When some property changed is like emitted by some part of the system, everybody who's listening for some property changed will update their stuff. And so in the case of QML, we have this Q object is hooked up as something that can expose itself to QML. So QML has my API, which maps to this singleton type example, and we have some property and document source on here. So here he's got the text looking at document source, and so he's saying, he goes, okay, I know because of like the way QML is hooked up, the text field here will have to update when I see the signal associated with the document source update. That's kind of like the bare bones of it. And that's how we like integrate between C++ and QML. And then we just have to write some sort of like C glue so that we can like update the C++ side from Zig. Should be pretty straightforward. Looks easier to create a fully featured TUI library in Zig than reading that file. And hello everyone. Yeah, that's pretty fair. You're talking about this app.h. Yeah, C++ is kind of fun. But we'll get used to it. So I think if we want to show the current breakpoint in the UI, we have to think a little bit about how all this stuff is going to get hooked up together. So when we run the GUI thread, it kind of like Qt kind of like takes over. So you have like run GUI, right? And this doesn't return until the GUI is closed, right? So we're probably, if we're going to be running our debugger, we're probably going to have like some thread over here where he's going to be sitting for most of the time in like debugger wait, right? And this is like the function that we call right now to say like run the child process until something interesting happens, then return control back to us. So this thread is probably going to be doing that. And then based off of something, right, he's going to probably, when he sees this state happen, he's going to have to tell the GUI thread that he's braked, and he's going to stay breakpointed, stay paused. We'll use the word paused. He needs to stay paused until the UI thread says that we're ready to go again, right? So this is like UI is going to be over here. We're going to be like, okay, paused, right? And then we are probably also going to send over like file and line info, like where are we paused, as well as probably address. We're going to send all that stuff over to the UI side. Then at some point, then here we kind of just have to like do nothing, right? Do nothing in this thread. Wait for some message probably. How do you draw this again? You usually do it like this way, I guess. He kind of goes back until we get a continue. Right? And so what we are going to need is we need some sort of like inter-thread communication mechanism, probably. But do we need to expose that? Maybe not. Maybe all of the inter-threadness of this thing kind of lives in Zigland. And from the UI perspective, UI will just call like continue as a function. Debugger will just call like set pause state and set file, set line, set address or something. That feels kind of right to me. And then these things are kind of like thread independent. And the implementations of all these functions have to handle the fact that they are going to be executing from the wrong thread. Every function that we call between Zig side and C++ side are going to be on the wrong thread, I think. We'll see. We will see. So let's just start. Maybe before, instead of show current breakpoint, maybe we will actually just say that we are saying if we are paused or not. Show running state in UI. Okay, let's just start there. We're gonna start there, and then after we do that, maybe we will add a continue button. That feels like a good initial spot. Okay. So I think we're gonna have like a GUI.zig who's gonna kind of like hold the abstraction around interacting with GUI CPP. So he's gonna kind of have this stuff in here. We'll call this GUI PP for GUI C++. Okay. And he, I guess, is going to expose some sort of GUI. I don't really know what this is going to look like yet, right? We're just kind of feeling it out. We know that this is going to have a debugger inside him, which means that the existing debugger that previously was just kind of living in main, this thing has to like move into his own file probably. So we'll call this debugger zig like this, and we'll just kind of take everything that was previously in debugger. I assume this is for the debugger, yep. We'll kind of take, this is not, okay. So I guess we kind of like take the imports here, put these in debugger.zig, and we'll say fix me prune. Not sure if these, we need them all. And then we take all of this stuff, I guess that's kind of all of this. And we put it over here. Now, since we are saying that this zig file is immediately a struct, we do something like we take, I kind of want like the struct itself to be at the top of the file. Kind of want it to read a little bit like an interface to some extent. I guess we'll put this const over here. Even though this is a private detail, const at the top feels reasonable. Then we kind of delete this. We delete this, and then we're going to go up here, select everything, go back a little bit, and then we say const debugger is equal to this. All right. So nothing in here is going too crazy. Let's go back into dspherozig and say const debugger is equal to import debugger.zig, and just kind of see how much it falls over. He's mad because 118. I'll just kind of pull this in like this for a second, but fix me, should this be public? Just to get the build working for now. Looks like that's fine. Okay. Okay, so in our GUI zig now, we can now import this, okay. And surely this is going to be public in some way. I might try using Zig in embedded importing some CPP libs. Did you have issues with that? As long as you build them with Zig C++, I think it should be fine. That was kind of the problem I ended up with, I think. So we're gonna have some sort of run thing, right? He is going to spawn Qt. So he's gonna be like GUI pp run GUI, right? This is kind of like his job. I don't know why this isn't resolving. I guess we'll find out soon. But probably he feeds a handle to himself back to this guy. That's kind of my guess is how this is gonna work. And that way, we can have like pub export GUI continue. I guess for now, we're not doing any backwards communication, so we're not going to do this right now. All we have to do is implement when the debugger waits, he updates the GUI. Simple. Simple, simple, simple. So we're going to have some sort of thread here. I guess we'll call this debugger thread. And I don't know what he's going to do yet, but we'll figure it out. It's probably failable. Maybe we don't want it to be failable because it's going to be running in a thread. And he, I guess, is going to be like... He probably owns the debugger, to be honest. That way, everything debugger related has to go to the debugger thread, which means that this guy probably just has a debugger thread reference. Probably. Although I don't really want that either because it makes it too easy to access the stuff inside. We probably are going to have some sort of like queue of actions. But we'll figure that out later. For now, we're just going to be like, okay, so when this guy, he's going to sit here being like debugger wait. He's going to have to do like the whatever we're doing in our main loop right now. We probably have to do that in over here. So he initializes debugger, he launches the application, and then he does something while he waits. Cool. Cool. So this is going to be like this. And then he's going to be like this. Okay. Now, we kind of had this like fucked up loop on our main application where he checks if he's the entry point and sets some like known breakpoints in this he sets some known breakpoints at that point. I think we can kind of dodge that with a feature that we implemented in Happy Hour just now with where there are pending breakpoints. So I think all we have to do here is before we do this, we have to set the pending breakpoints. So maybe we'll take in our like breakpoint address and we'll say debugger dot pending breakpoints. This is kind of fucked up, but we're kind of abusing. Fix me API abuse. We'll come back to this, but I just think that this will work for now. I think this will work. I think. We will see. This guy needs an allocator. Maybe we'll hold one. Maybe we won't. Maybe she's born with it. Which means that we need standard library. Mem allocator like this. Okay. So what are we going to do here? This guy is going to initialize this thing with his allocator. He already, actually, this is not going to be here. This is going to be an init. So we're going to init with an allocator and probably a breakpoint address. I don't really know yet. We'll figure it out. And he's going to return himself, I think, as a pointer. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. Let me think about this for a second. Sorry, I'm thinking. Who knows? Who knows? And we're gonna initialize this with some executable. Some path to an executable. He's going to need to be in there. I guess we could maybe initialize the debugger from the other thread and then pass it over here. So maybe we won't have this in it, and this will kind of be on GUI in it. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, that feels a little nicer. So he's gonna live like this. Then, sorry, this doesn't take self. I don't know what I'm fucking talking about. Maybe here we take in an maybe we're just taking the debugger here. We like hand it off to the GUI. Sure. That seems reasonable to me. Is allocator thread safe? I think some of them are. I think you can say, please use a thread safe allocator. But I don't actually know. It's a good question. And maybe we'll kind of do this API abuse like in our dsphere or something. So we can kind of do this here. I think this will work. So we'll kind of set the debugger pending breakpoints put this thing, and then we can say fix me API abuse. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. I think this, the way this is kind of looking, kind of feels like this is going to be a reference to a debugger who's owned externally. It's just kind of how it's feeling. And then when we run the thread, he's going to be like, bitch, go. This is how it's feeling. This is how it's feeling. Then on init, we take in this debugger by reference, and we spawn the thread, probably. So we kind of set this guy up as like, he needs an allocator, probably. And he's going to be like, alloc, create a debugger thread. I'm thinking, this feels right to me. Thread data is equal to this. Then we'll be like thread data dot star is equal to debugger is equal to debugger. And then we do like stood thread spawn a function debugger thread run with thread data. And then we probably just like eat that shit. Probably. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe this kind of goes in run. Maybe there is no init. Maybe there's only run. In which case, like, this should just be a function. We'll kind of see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out. This feels reasonable to me. And then here we can do like a defer t. This probably has to be tried. And okay. Probably here we probably want to block for a little bit, but it's fine for now. It's fine for now. Fix me block until UI is launched. Because we are going to set a bunch of initial UI state from this thread that needs to know that the UI has like its state available to it. But for now, we'll do a time sleep for 1. Shut up. Ew, Qt. Not that there's any really good solutions anymore with most modern window libraries pushing towards dumbed down UI, properly marked menus for iPad generations. Yeah, I mean, Qt feels like maybe one of the better options, like at least one of the more fully featured options. There's a lot about Qt I definitely don't like, but we should give it a shot. We should give it a fair run. Because like any of the alternatives that I do like don't really have like accessibility features. Not that I've ever used them, but like it'd be nice to like have them available, you know? Okay, what am I trying to do? So after we do all this, we're probably trying to do like something where we spawn the GUI. It's not GUI.h, GUI.zig. And then here we're probably doing something GUI run with our debugger and an allocator. Yeah. Sure, blaze it. And then we're missing the piece here where after all of this, if we stop, we need to inform the GUI of our state. So here we'll just be like, we're not even gonna say where we're stop. We're just gonna be like GUI plus plus, and we'll just call this like set GUI set debugger state stopped. And maybe this is gonna have to be like GUI pp GUI d state stop is probably what this is gonna look like. I don't know yet, but we'll figure something out. Then here we're gonna say state finish. Okay. There we go. That feels like it might turn into something. Which means in GUI.h, we need like set debugger state. And this feels like it should take in a handle to something, right? It just kind of feels that way. So maybe we do like a type def of void star to GUI Qt GUI or something, right? And maybe here, instead of it just going to run GUI in GUI CPP, maybe we construct our singleton first. That feels like it kind of handles the race condition that we were looking at a second ago. So maybe we'll do like Qt GUI, make GUI, then we run GUI with the GUI. That feels right to me. That feels right. So now we have like make GUI, which does this, basically just this. So he's going to return a new singleton type example. So this returns a void star. And can we just like return this? Then he's going to take in a singleton type example star state or something. And he is going to just pass the state to the Qt engine, the QML engine. Yeah. I guess here we don't type def, we do a forward declaration. Which we call Qt GUI or GUI state, I guess, is probably more right. And this is going to return a GUI state star. Yes. It's all coming together, which means in app.h, this singleton type example should turn into a GUI state. Yes. Oh my God, it's all making sense. It's all making sense. This returns a GUI state, and then this takes in a GUI state. That feels good to me. That feels good to me indeed. So then when we want to set the state, we had our set debugger state, which was going to take in like an enum of debugger states, and it was debugger state, or was it state paused? What did we call it on the side? State stop and state finish. And this takes in our GUI state star and the run state, I guess. Debugger states like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. Sure. Sure. So now our implementation of that is going to be like, this returns void. He's going to call set debugger state. Given this state and this thing, he's going to call state dot arrow set debugger state. Sure. That feels right to me. Which means that on this guy, he just needs a set debugger state. And for now, we are just going to basically hide this in a Q string that we have here already. So we're going to be like, this is like, you know, fucked, but whatever. He has a lock guard on him, and he has m document source, and he's going to be like, you know, after we're going to change this thing and say that it changed, and he's going to take in the state. So this is going to be like, what is GUI H? I think he's going to be like debugger state, and then I guess we switch on debugger state. And how do you write C++? Case debug d state stop. Here we're gonna say our m document source is equal to stopped, and case finish, we're gonna say finished. Which means that this is kind of like, we probably need a running state too, right? Surely we need a running state. Surely we need a running state. Which means that in our GUI Zig side, we initially set the state to state run. So here, now we've got this like weird thing where we have like var const state is GUI pp, what was it? It was make GUI or something? Yeah, make GUI. Then we initially set debugger state to GUI pp state run. Yeah. It's all coming together, and then we run the GUI state. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we don't need this fucking sleep in here anymore. And then here we launch the debugger. This guy needs a state handle. So this thread doesn't start until the state is up, right? So this is a GUI pp GUI state pointer. And then he just passes in self state here and here. It's all coming together, I feel like. We'll see though. And so that means that our thread data has to kind of be initialized here. All right, let's see how fucked this build is. Unknown type name debugger state in GUI CPP. All right, what the fuck is going on? Expected semicolon after enum. I don't know how to write C++. I don't know if like everything was propagating from that. So no matching function call to run GUI. Sure. Let's just can we just say fuck GUI test? This is no longer needed. We do not need GUI test anymore. Okay. Now what? Blah, 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 blah. Set debugger state in GUI app.h, unknown type name debugger state. But I import GUI.h. Oh, it's debugger states. This should definitely be debugger state, right? There are many states, but each instantiation of this will be a single state. And let's just make sure that I kind of got that right everywhere. So I actually called it debugger state pretty much everywhere else. All right, let's see. Let's see. So he's mad at void star make GUI. Right. Type safety. Sure. So this should be in GUI CPP. We made a mistake, and this should be GUI state star make GUI. Fine. We're gonna be like that. We're getting closer. C import failed. Must use struct tag to refer to GUI state. Oh, fuck me. Is this legal in C++? I sure hope so. Or else we're gonna have to do some more like macro bullshit, but I think it's fine. C import failed. Must use enum tag. All right. I know. Fine. You know what? Chill your bones, man. Debugger pending breakpoints put expected 3 arguments, found 1. That is true. So we go back to our little hack thing in dsphero.zig, and we have this like pending breakpoints put, and we'll just be like debugger alloc. And we also need a void here because we're treating it as a hash set, but you know, in Zig, your hash map and your hash set are the same. GUI run is not marked pub. We can fix that easy peasy. All right, and now we look for the moment of truth. Fuck! Cannot dereference null pointer, or this has to be tried, I guess. Area news ignored. So this is in dsphero.zig 116. And you know what? I'm looking at this and I'm like, why was this a pointer again? It felt like it made sense at some point, but now that the thing has turned into like a function that we're calling, it definitely feels like it shouldn't be anymore. Okay, GUI 16. Can we say like or else return error make GUI or something? Just so that don't have to null check it everywhere. Okay, C int ignored in run GUI, sure. And he also needs to, somewhere we wrote try in here. I'm just gonna like let this arrow for now and put a fix me. Error crashes thread probably should be protected, but I just don't want to deal with that right now. You know, it's just a problem for a future me. And run GUI needed to ignore the error. So I guess we say if this is not equal to 0, we'll say return error run GUI, right? If that fails, we have a fucking problemo. All right. I wonder what the chances are that this works. He does say stopped. Maybe we should do the same thing we were doing in our main loop where we just say, if we are stopped, maybe we print locals and then continue. So then maybe we will see this thing alternate between something and something. Okay, so what happened here? So he said continue, then goodbye. Right, here we need to check he's probably crashing because we are not supposed to continue him if he's finished. So here we say, how are we determining this is stopped before? Oh yeah, it was under finished state. So this should be fine. Here we'll put this as state run here. And then where are we crashing? We're crashing in wait PID here. After goodbye. And this is coming from GUI 35. Oh, right, because this has to break out of the loop. If we finish, we can't continue waiting. Okay. So maybe let's sleep in here while we're in the stop state. Just so that we have, you know, some form of proof, you know, that like something is happening on the GUI side. So we're gonna maybe sleep for 1 times time nanoseconds per second. And we're gonna do this here as well. Just so that we can see like, oh, it's running. Oh, it stopped. Oh, it's running. Stopped. I don't ever see this jumping into run, which is a little bit concerning. Right, I expect to see this alternating. And let's maybe just kind of write out the state that we expect it to be in at each point. So here it says stop, run, and this isn't toggling. So we've done something fucking stupid here. So set debugger state calls set debugger state on app.h. We did not break out of the run. We forgot to break out of our switch because C++, for some fucking reason, falls through switches by default. But that's a really good sign. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. We have propagated some information from Zig to C++ about our debugger. Isn't that kind of cool? Isn't that kind of cool? Look at that. Look at him go. He's gonna say finished here. Nice, nice. All right, so that's pretty sick for us. That's definitely pretty sick. Okay, let's add a continue button. Let's add a continue button. So instead of this guy just unconditionally continuing, this needs to turn into some sort of state machine, right? Like here, the stop state, here you're kind of saying like, well, all unconditionally we are waiting. And that's not really the case. So maybe we'll call this like this, I don't like this state thing being here. Can we call this like GUI handle or something? Because we are actually going to be a state machine ourselves, right? So we are going to have some sort of like step function. Surely. Right? And he is going to be like, what state am I in? So can we just call this like, I don't know. I guess we could ask the GUI state every frame. We could ask him like, what state are we supposed to be in? Does that make more sense? I think I'm actually going to confuse here. I'm going to rename. I don't like the name GUI state anymore. I'm going to call this GUI handle. I'm going to call this GUI handle. It kind of feels like the name should be different in different contexts, which is double confusing. But for now, I like the name GUI handle better. We'll see if I feel that way in a second. This is GUI handle. All right. And when he talks to me, we're gonna have some sort of function like export function debugger continue. And he is going to take a handle to a debugger thread handle. This is how I'm feeling right now. This is how I'm feeling. Right? And this guy is going to have some way to signal to this thread to change states. Right? So how is that going to happen? I guess there could be like a queue of events that are pushed. That feels the most sane. So we're going to have some sort of like event queue. And he is going to have a mutex for sure, because it got to be thread safe, of course. And is there like a stud queue? It's going to be like stud. I think there's like a linear FIFO in here. So just like a bunch of stuff that we want to happen. Is that what I want? Sorry, I'm just thinking for a second. So we're going to have like actions. Or is it actions? Is it actions? Right, like I'm going to do something like I'm going to be like, could I continue? And I'm going to send that over. That's just a Boolean. But I'm thinking more a little bit future facing. Like, what about when I'm going to say, like, jump to this thing? I guess everything that's going to come in is going to be like an action of some form. And we probably do want those actions to be queued. That makes sense. If I double click the button on the GUI side, I probably want like that thing to happen 2 times. Just kind of like hand wavy generally. But maybe for now. Aside naming is hard. One heuristic I use is to make as many names the same as possible. E.g. trace equals scene dot trace ray. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So your variable, function, method, all the same names. I agree. And it only works that way when you can disambiguate, like when you don't have name collision from that. I'm trying to decide if I want like a FIFO right now. Maybe we kind of like upgrade later. Maybe for now, we just do this. So maybe this is like a GUI handle. This goes in here, right? And what is he pissed about? Expected type refreshment found continue. Oh, he's just out of he's out of his mind. Oh, because continue should be const because continue is a reserved keyword. Never mind, it's not out of his mind. So for now, we'll say like if. So here we'll call this like debugger thread handle, which is different than the GUI handle. And I guess this can just kind of be like this, right? Probably this stuff can all be like default initialized. Okay. Then when we call step, we are going to check the state here of continue. So like, maybe we also put this under like protected so that we know not to forget. I guess maybe in this state, we can just have it to be false. We are also going to have like a state that we're in. I guess we kind of know that we are waiting for something to happen in this case, because the continue case is going to be self debugger wait, right? This is like when we continue, we wait. So I wonder if like this our thread state is maybe implied here. It could be. I guess we say if we lock the mutex, right? Okay. And if continue is false, self thread handle continue, right? Then we just wait for it to be true. That's kind of the case here. Otherwise, we run this some more. That feels right to me. And then here we just have to figure out how to wait for it. So we're going to do some sort of like condition variable, right? And then we just call like cv dot wait on the mutex, right? And then go again. This stuff kind of feels like it should be like this because we want the mutex to be unlocked probably while we're running the debugger. Okay, this is starting to make sense. Then we do this stuff here. And we also have to say that we are finished in this case. So when we are finished, we want the GUI to stay open, but we can no longer interact with the debugger, but the thread maybe needs to stay active because we might be able to like probe memory in some way. Probably not. Once it's finished, it's finished. So I don't really know what I want to do about that yet. I don't really know. I guess we exit the thread or something and the handle stays active. I don't know, we'll see. I guess for now, we'll just be like finished. And in here, we'll set finished is equal to true. And then here we'll say if finished or this. Yeah, there we go. So we can still like receive events from the GUI. Right now, the only event is continue. That continue will do nothing for us, but it'll still wake us up. Sure. And then in our run loop will just be like while true self step. And we'll probably log the error. GUI error or debugger error. This. I don't know, man. I don't know. We're just we're feeling it out. We're feeling it out. So on debugger continue, all we have to do here is lock the mutex. So handle mutex lock, defer handle mutex unlock. And all we have to do here is set the variable. Like this. Okay. And then call notify. And then here, just before we continue, we have to set continue to false. So this is self thread handle mutex protected continue. So they have to click it every time. Okay, then we need to get the handle somehow. So we make our debugger thread. We get the handle out of it. And we pass that in when we call run GUI. Is how it's feeling right now. Right, so here, when we run this thing, we're also going to call the debugger state. Struct debugger state star. I don't know. We'll see. Run GUI takes a debugger state. I guess this is probably, again, should probably be a handle. This should be a handle. That makes more sense. That makes more sense for sure. Didn't I change GUI state to GUI handle? I did, just not here. I forgot it here. Okay. Oh, I actually already had a debugger state, so I was just fucking out of my mind. Okay. So now this is debugger handle. No, this is debugger state, so I'm fucking mental. And I guess maybe this doesn't belong here, actually. It feels like the handle should get passed into this guy on make GUI. That's now how it's feeling to me when I look at this. Right, so this kind of lives like here. Then he gets the handle here. And so then we can implement a function where, like, from Qt, when a button is pressed, it calls into GUI handle and it does something. So he now needs to take a debugger handle. Like this. Yep. Which means that in this language, how do you do this? You put like member variables kind of get initialized like this, and I think the Q object needs to be the last thing to get initialized or the first thing to get initialized. We'll find out. M debugger handle, because that's the the thing I copy pasted puts M's on things. So I guess we will too. All right. So this guy needs to be aware of the function in GUI zig. So this thing. And I think that I probably just paste it here. Fix me. This belongs somewhere else for sure. But this is just void debugger continue, and he takes in a debugger handle pointer like this. Is it extern in this language? Do I write extern here? No. This just says, please look for this function somewhere. Although he needs to know that it is a C function with no mangling, so it's probably like this, right? Probably. And then, so we're gonna have some sort of like, I think you need to make them a slot to say, hey, this is a function that can be called from Qt, from QML. You say public slots, and we're just gonna make a function here. No, actually, this document source, Oh, Q invocable is probably the word I'm looking for. It says this can be invocable by Qt contexts, and this will be continue. We'll just call it cont, and here we will call debugger continue with debugger handle. That feels like it's all going to work out. This feels like it's all going to work out, but we'll see. We'll see. So now in QML, let's add like a button, and he's gonna have like a text that's like continue. Surely that's a thing that you can have on buttons. Surely. Text, and then on clicked, we're just gonna do my API continue. Feels good to me. Surely this doesn't compile. It never compiles. At least I was right. Yeah, I think that this, I can't remember C++ parent class init. Like where, how do I do this? Yeah, they do that way. I had it backwards. This goes here, and this goes here. Dude, I'm so rusty. It's so embarrassing. I'm so rusty. When I get, if anybody who's gonna like considering hiring me for C++ watches this, they're gonna be like, holy shit, never in my life. Why is he mad about this? Q invocable, return function name, do stuff. So what's he fucking bitching about? Non-void function does not return value? Okay, shut the fuck up. Stupid fucking C++. Wait, Zig interrupts with C++? If they, well, they both interrupt with C. You know? And that's a lot like C++. GUI.h needs that adjustment to the API, so we put this thing here. Which actually means that in our debugger thing, GUI, sorry, it means that we have to like construct this handle before calling make GUI. So I think we have to do it this way. We do state equals undefined, like this. Then we make the state with thread data handle. And then we set state. It's not even called state, it's GUI handle here. Goes to GUI handle. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Feels like it might work. Handle missing struct mutex protected. That's fair. We will give him a default value. Everyone default value, please. Expected type this thing, found that thing, so I need to pass that in by reference, which now it makes sense why I put this thing in a pointer, because I thought that this was going to happen, although it could be on the stack still in this case, because this, you know, we're never going to return this function until it's ready to go. So here he's mad that he is const. That's fair, I guess. No, wait. Thread handle shouldn't be const. What's he mad about? He expected type debugger handle and found, oh, thread handle. Oh, this is like a Zig type that is not known about from GUI.h. Can we just kind of like pointer cast this shit? Or can in GUI.h, can we just like type def void star debugger handle? Does that kind of make this easier to work with? It might. Struct now everywhere that uses debugger handle like this. Do I just do type def void so that everybody knows it's a pointer still? I feel like maybe this makes sense. Okay, we're close. Local variable is never mutated at GUI.zig. Where was that? That was 16 here. Oh, I just didn't save. Oops. Brain wasn't on. Thankfully, GPT chat helps with good naming. No. ChatGPT is terrible at naming. Holy shit. Where's my button? Main QML. I definitely have a button here. If we do this and we just kind of comment out this text field, like, it goes away, right? So where is this QML coming from? I guess the Zig build system probably is not correctly rerunning something that needs to get rerun. That's my guess here. Because the Zig build system, he calls RCC on this guy. He says, hey, I need to bundle up some resources, please. And my resources should be output to this resources.d file. So let's see if we can find that. Okay. And that resources.d should say he depends on GUI./main.qml. So the question becomes, how do I hook this back up? Because I thought that Zig would automatically rebuild because of this. That's what I thought. But it seems like he's not. Right, so if irm-r zig cache. Oh, fuck, I made a mistake. Well, we've already made the mistake, so we have to live with it. I apologize, guys. Let's just wait 5 fucking minutes for a Qt build. That was a big oopsies. That's fucking annoying. I forgot. So the problem here is that the Qt build output is stashed in the Zig cache along with everything else. I just forgot. And so I just nuked my Qt build, and so it's going to take a while to rebuild. Fuck! But yeah, I suspect that there's something wrong with my resource bundling. We can probably dodge this for now. But the mocks need to get rebuilt as well. Oh, but the mocks correct don't need the dependency file. While we're here, while this is happening, let's just look up Zig build system. And can we look at like dep file? Dep. I thought that it kind of handles it automatically. Can we maybe in a second window here spin up another Nix shell since we're going to be waiting a minute? We have to be careful here as well because I think that ZLS will try to run the build at the same time, which is kind of funny. I don't think there's like a lock on it. And I've seen that corrupt my build before when doing specifically this. So just be a little bit careful. Let's maybe go into config ZLS and just say false here. And hopefully that will solve that problem. Nix shell's still taking a second. All right. So let's make sure here that if we maybe here we'll do ps aux grep mvim or ninja, there should only be one ninja process running right now, which is good. And if we now go into like build.zig, is there still only one? Okay, we're chilling. So we can poke and prod. So I was under the impression that this dep file output arc would make it so that the Zig cache next time knows how to deal with it. So here they say, if there was a dependency output file, they add this to the manifest. right? So this should be fine. Is it still segfaulting or progress? Definitely progress. Definitely progress. We can run a Qt app now. It's just I was confused about why my resources weren't getting rebuilt. So it feels like if the manifest has this dep file in it, then it is doing what I assumed. I don't really see why else that would go in there. Fuck, we just have to wait. Like, I can't believe I made this mistake. Something caching it through. Could you work around by adding a step to run those separately and set step dot has side effects true? Possibly. So you're saying like build zig RCC. I could do like RCC step has side effects here. That feels like a workaround for sure. If that was in fact the problem, and we will have to test this in a minute after after Qt builds again. Oi, oi, oi! I hate it when I make a stupid mistake like that. Just costs time. Costs time. It's not the end of the world. So this is what I was doing yesterday, just over and over and over and over again. Just like sitting here waiting for this fucking Qt build. All right. Can we do anything while we wait for this? I think we had just got to the point where we thought that our GUI should have a continue button that worked, right? And we were like, why aren't we seeing it in main QML? So I think we do just wait it out. We just wait it out. We'll live. We will survive. Qt doesn't have incremental or Ccache time thing to speed up build. So the mistake I made though was that I nuked the Qt builder. So no matter what Qt does internally, we completely destroyed it, just like by mistake because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. It is what it is. I guess we'll put as a chapter in here. Oops, we have to rebuild Qt. Frowny face. This is sometime before 01/12/40. And then we're gonna go back at continue button. All right. People often call me a Qt, not gonna lie, dude. And you are. don't let them take that away from you. You will be a Qt forever and ever. You mean your mom? Hey, there might be at least one other person. One other person might. What do we do? I'm trying to like I've never been at such a loss for words. Have you used ZVM, by the way? Here we go. We'll waste some time. What the fuck is ZVM? An operating system? Virtual VM family of virtual machine operating systems? Oh, Zig version manager. That makes way more sense. Probably not. Never heard of it. What is it? Let's just wait 45 seconds for this webpage to load because my CPU's railed. Tool for managing your Zig installed withstood under heavy development and a large roadmap. Zig is bound to continue changing. Interesting. I just build it myself when I want to. Does this, like, how often are you getting hit by stuff like Zig compatibility issues? I actually haven't really noticed. I just like upgrade like once every major version, then call it. But I guess if you were trying to build like run like lots of nightlies, it might be a problem. It's like Zig up. Yeah, I like putting it in Rust terms. You're like Rust up equals Zig up. Oh, okay. I get it. Oh, that's kind of cool though. Is that the orange Crush logo? I feel like that's the orange crush logo. Am I crazy? And if it is, why? Oh no, it looks nothing like it. Maybe I'm just thinking that orange crust is just orange and bubbly. That's probably all I was thinking there. When I'm working on projects with different versions, since the language has changed so much, I don't feel like upgrading a project. That's fair. Um, I guess I get around that with Nix. I guess I get around that with Nix. Ah! Fucking builds. I will say, uh, I don't know. This is one of the reasons why I feel like I get pissed off when I use GUI frameworks. Like, not this particular, just like, it's so big. There's so much crap in here. And surely we don't need all the crap, right? Like, surely not. Surely this building 17,000 things is not necessary. How many threads do you have a compilation? However many Ninja did by default. Holy fuck me. That's a lot. Oh no. No, 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 no. It's happening again. Oh no. So I think that something triggered a second build in parallel on the same fucking thing. Oh, all right. We just have to not fucking touch it. That's so frustrating. That explains why there were so many fucking zig processes there too. But it'll actually probably go faster this time, which is nice. See, like when you see like premature end of file recovering, it's like, god damn it, like something fucking clobbered the ninja file while, because there was like two processes fighting for the same thing. The fact that like there's no build lock seems crazy to me. You know? But let's just kind of close NeoVim because I'm pretty sure that this is the culprit. I'm pretty sure it's that NeoVim's like has like a language server set up, and that language server sometimes calls Zig builds just kind of like without you asking it to, or something. There's something along those lines. I thought it was fine. I sure hope that when we get to the end of this build, I almost feel like it's safer to just nuke it again. But then there's like sunk cost fallacy where we already started building, so it's like, well, we should just let it keep going. We should just let it keep going. But like, what if we get to the end of this and because of the builds fighting each other, two of them were running the same object file at the same time? And we're just gonna get to the end here and it's not gonna build at all. What if that, or not run at all? What if that's what happens? I would get really mad. Have you heard of Flow Editor? It's in Zig and has Vim keybinds. Might be interesting to try adding a debugger to it. So that'd be a whole different can of worms. Let's see. Zig, what did you call it? It was Flow Editor. Zig. A programmer's text editor. A programmer's text editor. What's it do? Okay. Okay, so there's some sort of like language server integration here, probably. A lot of theme stuff going on. Interesting. Interesting. I probably will never switch text editors again. That seems likely. Does it edit text? Who knows? Who knows? Impossible to know. What do you think of Rust microdependencies? Uh, I think smaller, more broken up dependencies is better. I don't really know. Once you start getting into the nasty deep tree, it's like kind of like gross. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It feels like many dependencies. How do I say this? I think some dependencies make sense, right? You're writing OpenGL a app that like draws some 3D, an OpenGL dependency is totally reasonable and makes sense, right? And I think that in a lot of cases, taking in some small dependency doesn't make sense. And I think that probably my take at this point in my life would be that it makes sense to vet your dependencies. And if that is too difficult of a process, then you have to decide whether or not you're willing to take the risk of just running a bunch of people's code that you don't know or not. And in that case, I usually, at the very least, try to isolate the dependency so that I can strip it out later if I want to. You know what I mean? Rust microdependencies means more depth, so more risk of supply chain issues. I mean, yeah, I think that's true. But and you have to trust. But I mean, you already have to trust the author of whatever code you're writing, right? And so I guess the idea is that you should trust them to trust their like right there to vet their dependencies, but they probably won't. In which case, maybe it doesn't make sense to take on their dependencies. You know? I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say too because my view of this is extremely tainted recently by the fact that I write code for fun now, and so I'm much more willing to take on less dependencies. Where maybe if I was in the working world, I'd be like, oh shit, we have to get this out the door like for real. Firefox has like 400 dependencies, but I think it's likely that some of those makes like a lot of those make sense. Maybe not. Browsers are really complicated. And so like if you try to take on on everything, then you will just die. Like there's no chance. Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of like small scoped pieces of software, and you just can't really have that with a browser. A browser that's like impossible. I know Renee, I assume it's Renee of T2 Linux said that the dependencies in Firefox and Cargo caused tons of issues for him. I can see that. Yeah, I mean there's also like there's multiple sides to the problem, right? There's like one, uh who knows what fucking code you're running and the quality of that code, and if it's like fast and like what maybe some piece of code deep down the stack is doing something stupid and that causes problems. But then there's also the like, if I'm just trying to build my fucking thing, pulling in 1,000 things and trying to build them is gonna be fucking hard. Okay. One of the many Qt components just finished building. The other ones should be relatively quick though. The first one was Qt base, and then the other ones are uh like some shader stuff, which is relatively small, right? 88. And then the last piece was like the QML section, which was also relatively small, I guess. Guys, I'm gonna have to actually edit a video today. Isn't that a pain? I'm gonna have to open Blender, put the VOD in Blender, and then cut out this fucking 15-minute build. What are the specs for your PC? What am I trying to look for? Cat proc CPU info. We have a i7 9700K. What generation are they on now? I don't even know how old this is. This feels like it must be. I must have bought this when I was playing Fortnite. So this is probably like 4 years old. Probably. 5 years old? Holy fuck, I'm old, man. I looked at my phone the other day and it's like 7 years old. My CPU's 5 years old. Holy shit. The only reason to break flows could be, I wonder how difficult it would be to add a debugger to it, not to encourage you to switch editors. I kind of assume that kind of anything that I'm going to do is going to kind of follow like debugger adapter protocol, I think is what it's called. This thing is like editors can kind of like, well, I haven't actually looked at what the spec for this is. Maybe it's shit and limiting, but it's kind of like language servers for debuggers, right? It's kind of like you implement a backend and the editors implement a front end, and then like you just swap out backends depending on what debugger you want to use. I was gonna look into this. I don't know if I'll actually get there, but I was going to. Microsoft loves their protocols. I mean, they're both for VS Code, and I'll take that. Like, I think that the I don't know if you like how many of you guys were like writing code before language servers. Uh, but it sucked. Like it really, really, really sucked. Like I remember I tried like every fucking IDE under the sun when I was reading C++, and I hated every single one of them for like different reasons. And like I was forced into my only option I felt like at the time was Eclipse, because Eclipse was the only IDE I tried that had call hierarchy. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Where like I have to like, why is this all tied together? Right? And like the when language servers started coming out, I remember being so fucking excited. Like I was watching them from like the get go, because it's like, oh, this is gonna be it's gonna completely decouple this issue and it's gonna be sick, and they are sick. And so it's just like, good on Microsoft for that one. I understand that like there's like maybe some problems with it, right? Why the fuck are we slapping out tons of JSON over standard output? Right? Maybe that's like kind of fucking stupid, but maybe also it's like the most like the lowest common denominator where everybody's going to be able to do that. So like maybe it's fine. Maybe your debugger your language server doesn't need to be super 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 optimized. But yeah, like I remember the days where Clang D sucked, and I was like, oh, I'm so disappointed. But it's gotten to the point now where it's like, oh, they're all so good. It's so great. Maybe that dislike was an IDE thing. Vim without LSP is doable if you're not a huge code base. Yeah, I mean LG said got to keep updating your CTags database. I think that was like a major problem. Like at least the code base I was working on at the time, there were just like 1,000 initialize functions. And so if you're like, what does this initialize function do? It was like hard to navigate to without something that had like intelligent indexing. And then also we had these like really nasty, deep call traces as well. So if you're trying to figure out like you have like a bug somewhere and you've never been in that component of the code before, and you're like, where does this come from? Like having like a call hierarchy that's accurate is like incredibly, incredibly valuable. I find that I don't like, especially as a junior too. I was a lot younger at that point. Right at this point in my career, it's a lot easier for me to just grep stuff because I'll be able to guess kind of what I expect someone will have done. I have like kind of like most code bases I'm in, if I'm looking for something, I mean this is not always true, but often if there's like I can grep for like 5 different words and one of them will be a hit on like the thing I'm looking for. And so it's like, okay, that gives me somewhere to start at least, but yeah, I don't know. Without the language service, it sucked back then. Bum, 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 bum. Guys, I'm so sorry. We cannot make this mistake again. This is we're at least 15 minutes, probably more like 20. But we're almost there, halfway through the last dependency. I wonder if it makes sense to like back up my Zig cache dir so this can't happen again. Could have had Electron up and going by now. Uh, I wonder. I've never made an Electron app. Is it like, how hard is it to like interface those things with like C? Electron C library. Do you have to like write like the whole thing in like Node? I've actually like literally never. What the fuck is Electron? What is like I know what it is, but like how Electron getting started? Not hard. Node GIP is pretty straightforward. Yeah, did that really get automated? Yeah, yeah. Okay, you saw that too. I wonder what. Oh, they're probably mad at it sounding like Gypsy. Node GYP, and they're probably Twitch has probably banned that. I exclude cache from my backups. Creating a backup only if the cache is hilarious. I mean, it would solve this problem. It would solve this specific problem. Uh, Yeah, I've actually, so like what, so you'd wrap your Zig code with that. I see. So your whole Electron world is like a Node.js app essentially that has that, and you can like, I assume that's how like IO and stuff is done as well, and then you like wrap FFI. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Is there like still like the concept of a front end and back end when you write something like this? Like, where does the HTML go? I guess you just have like a job. They just like fold down the like the JavaScript engine that's running is probably just full on Node.js. Oh, there still is front end and back end. That's crazy. Electron has access to native APIs. Front end is sandboxed. Ah, I see. But they're both JavaScript. Gross. I can see why it took off because, like, again, just like writing browser stuff is like so easy, and this is not easy. But also gross. I think I'm like heavily biased, but like I'm not fucking writing JavaScript on the server. Like I just don't. I'm sure there are good reasons, but like I just like we've taken like the worst language that's ever existed. I mean that's an exaggeration, but right, like we write JavaScript because we have to, not because we want to. Right? And so then like taking that out of the context of okay, we fucking have to do it here because there's literally no other choice into fuck it, let's write everything in it is like that seems like a crazy choice to me. Like an absolutely crazy choice. Although I understand that there are people that only know JavaScript, right? So giving them that capability does make some form of sense. But it's like, come on, man. Like, it's a really bad language. It's really bad. There's no upsides. Have you seen WebView? I'll take a look. We'll take a look. Platform WebView for cross-platform GUIs. Oh, that sounds kind of fun. So this thing basically says, I assume that on Windows, it's going to use like the Edge version. Oh no, they're still using They're still using WebGTK, WebKit GTK. So everything's WebKit. This turns into they spawn a window. How do you like feed it the HTML? Set HTML. I see. Well, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. And I think that I can see this makes why this would make a lot of sense. I can see why this would make a lot of sense. Neat. Discord is a dog shit product, but to be honest, but available on a lot of targets. I mean, Discord's not that bad. There's a reason it won, right? And it's because everything else was even worse. uh, I think it's out of convenience. Having the front and back end in the same language is pretty nice. You can easily share types using libraries that work together, TRPC and stuff. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I don't know. I watch some like videos every once in a while on like web dev stuff, and I'm just like, I feel like you guys are like making your own problems sometimes. Like, I mean, this might be like fucking stupid, but do I want a shared type for like things that go over the wire? Like, probably not, right? Am I crazy for thinking that? I don't. There's something in my head where you're like taking a struct, serializing it, putting it over the wire, and getting it back, and it's just like the same struct. Is like that's more confusing to me than serializing it and deserializing it. Like the magic that has to go on to make that happen. And I get like maybe having the same language, then you have like you just have like a serialized and deserialized function that you can call. But like if you have to write the serialization and deserialization code independently anyways, then is having the same struct like with the same fields, is that really any better? You still have to write the two functions. You know what I mean? So it's like, what are you really gaining? Holy fuck, another 1,000. Oh no, only 300. Wait, no, we're chilling. We're so close. Guys, we're so close. Look at it. It's fucking moving. He's cooking. He's cooking. Did you see that? He was flying. Holy. Dude, fuck C++ though. I feel like the biggest complaint for the whole time I was working at a C++ shop were just C++ build times. And this is pretty rough. I'd argue a lot of programming problems are made up. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Front end just has a lot more people tweeting about it. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, but it's JavaScript, so no structs. It's just JSON objects. Perfect. That was my career path. I worked at this like camera company that made like firmware for like security cameras. So we would do like they give us board of parts, like they give us a board with like a lens hook up to it and shit, and like an Ethernet cable, and they'd be like, "Could you make it run?" And so we'd like boot Linux on it and like make some app that like reads from the DSP, takes the frames, packetizes them, and stuff like that. Does like lens control and stuff. So that was pretty fun. And then I worked at this like neural network company that worked on like you stick two cameras in the sky, point them at a box of stuff, and you want to say like, where's the stuff? So if you want to like pick up a screw from a box so that a robot can pick it up and like screw it into a hole somewhere, you need to kind of know like exactly how the screw is oriented in 3D space relative to the robot. That was also very fun. Both those jobs super fucking fun. Guys, we did it. We built. We did it. We built. That only took 25 minutes plus some. And we will not make that mistake again. All right. Let's run at it. Okay, so we run this thing. It doesn't even fix our problem. It didn't even fix our problem. How is that possible? So that means it just wasn't the cache? Am I fucking mental? GUI main.qml. Is there like a second main.qml sitting in here something? No. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Oh no. Resources.cpp is sitting in here. Oh, from our tests from earlier. So these were compiled at some point, and they're not supposed to live here. This was a mistake. Get all this fucking garbage out of this build directory. Now my build might not work anymore. It does. GUI. Oh, not GUI test. This isn't what I want. I want dsphero. Wait. How is this? What am I missing here? What am I missing? LG, thanks for the prime. Or for the tier 1. Much appreciated. Clonk, what's up, what's up? What am I missing? Build.zig. So he is supposed to run RCC on my file and add output arg resources.cpp. And this is supposed to come from GUI/GUI QRC. This guy says, please include main.qml. Okay, if I say main2.qml here, does my build fail? Yes. So that's good. But if I say main.qml, we're still seeing this text of running. And like, this text field is like commented the fuck out. So what the fuck are we doing wrong here? We also wanted to try calling rcc dot has side effects equals true to try to force his hand a little bit. But even then, he's still just not making what I want to make. It's like, where is this coming from? You know? Because what if we just like fully remove, like rename this thing completely? Main.qml underscore. Okay. Cannot find file main.qml. That makes sense. That makes sense. There is no file main.qml. This thing does not have that text field unless the comments are not written that way. That's actually like very, very confusing. Very, very confusing. But very interesting too. Wow, what am I missing? Set debugger state. This sets m document source. M document source is accessed through document source. And in main.qml, oopsies, the words document source are nowhere if I delete that. What a weird bug. What a very, very, very strange bug. So we are using, in our dsphero build, we are adding source files that come out of get GUI source files. Get GUI source files generates these files as lazy paths through this. So we get add output file arc resources.cpp. Okay. So when we build this thing, we then add those as sources here. This is actually like so unbelievably confusing to me right now. Especially since we nuked the cache dirt. So like, where could it be coming from? Resources are an output file arg that get thrown into a lazy path here. Okay. Can we look for resources CPP? Okay. So I mean, I guess this is the content of it, which is very hard to look at. Okay, let's get really crazy in here. Let's make this call main2.qml. Just hear me out for a second. Let's just see what happens. Sorry, let's give him a sec. So now main2 no such file or directory. That makes sense to me. I wonder if like, no, I'm actually really lost. Okay. So what if we make main2, we rename our thing main2 now. So we go into GUI.resources and call this main2. And then we look at, we rename it main2 as well. Okay. And then in GUI CPP, we look for main2. Now does it do what I expect? If this also doesn't do what I expect, I'm gonna like lose my mind. Oops. So the expectation here is that we have a continue button. Right, so what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened? Okay, we go into main2 and we edit this again to say text like hello world. Okay, so this is broken again. Very strange. Very strange. Can we edit this one more time? And Zig build with verbose mode on. and we can look for RCC. So he called this, right? He called this. And can we look? Okay, let's copy this line. Uh, test text. Okay. And let's change it again. Throw on some more L's in here, right? And let's see if he'd run, like, what is the difference here? So he does run this again. And it looks like he calls RCC from the same path and writes it to the same output. That's maybe interesting. This is looking kind of suspect to me. He's going to temp. Okay. I feel like I haven't seen that before. I'm used to seeing -O. But let's go take a look in there. Zig cache temp. Oh, maybe these end up in output folders later. Okay. Okay. I wonder if this, like this dependency file rule, is using the temp path, which is triggering Zig to not rerun it. That's like a very real possibility. Can we like rm-r this folder and rm-r this folder? And if we run this again, it still says continue. So this is getting cached from somewhere else. I want it to run verbose though. I feel like that's like kind of like the most interesting way of looking at this. So when where can I test this? GUI.zig, let's just add a new line in here so that the file is different. And we can look at the command line that's run to generate this thing. Build exe resources cpp from this folder. And now he's actually complaining that thing was cached probably, and now it doesn't exist. Uh-oh, I broke the cache. Okay. It feels like okay, what if I run into main to QML? Edit this again. Okay. He still says continue though. Like he recovered, but the button is never updated. My gut says, let's just see. If I go in here and I say RCC add file input and add in B path GUI main to QML. We'll say, hey, please fucking rerun this shit. Please, I'm begging you, when that file changes, you fucking rerun. I'm guessing has side effects true didn't help. I tried that and I don't think it helped. It still says continue. I'm actually so confused. It's like extremely confusing. Can we just run this command again? Like, fuck it, right? Like, something's not working the way we expect again. This stuff has to be qt6, 6, and 6. And you have to... Oh, this is not going to be trivial. It's not going to be trivial. Okay, here's what we do. Here's what we do. For now, we can get away from this by just not using the resource system. If we don't use the resource system, I think that should dodge the problem. Although I don't understand why the resource system is not going to work. Okay, so that's working. But we'll have to come back to this. We'll have to come back to this. That's very, very, very strange. Like, that's actually very... I'm very confused. But that's okay. All right, we're renaming this main QML. And we'll just move forward. We'll just move forward. I'll do some testing off stream. Okay, so what do we have before? We had like text came from my API dot document source, I think was what it was called before. And then it's fine. We'll throw this like this. No text? Dude, I'm gonna lose my mind, I feel like. He has main2.qml, main QML. Oh, main QML. Yeah, main QML says this. I'm gonna swap this back to continue. There we go. He says continue again, but the text is not there. So maybe document source was the wrong word. That's possible. Possible. Any reason you went with QML over widgets? Letter seems easier to get going. I think QML was supposed to be, like, they've been kind of pushing it. It's supposed to be like the new way. The new way. And there are real advantages to using QML when it's working. I mean, I think we're struggling more because we're like kind of out of the trodden path here. But like hot reloading and stuff works pretty well from within QML. Right? You could do things like you can say yeah, like it forces some pretty heavy separation between your backend and your data and your layout and stuff as well, which is kind of nice. But mostly because I wanted to try it again. Okay, let's just double check here. I guess we don't even have to rerun. Oh, it was saying running here. Oh, it was probably that the button was on top of the running text. So I think that you're supposed to put this stuff in a layout. If I remember correctly. Otherwise, they just kind of sit in the top, like wherever you place them. So can we do like QML alignment or something? I remember like there's somewhere where they tell me how to. Can we like just like look for like examples? Application, desktop. Dum bum 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 bum. We were looking at like chat app example at some point. None of this looks like what I wanted. QML, WebSocket, positioning and location. Map viewer. Come on, man. Just give me like, I just want like something like fucking like hello world QML. Just give me something easy to look at. Like I'm confident that I'm supposed to use a layout. I just want to know where the fuck am I supposed to learn about that? Like I remember there being like QML row layout and stuff. Like where does this come from? And let's just look at the layout type again. Maybe this is just what I want. An object of type layout is attached to children of the layout to provide a specific layout environment about the item. Blah, blah, blah. Layout is resized as make or shrink. I guess we probably can just slap a layout on here and just see what happens. Am I supposed to have a version on here? How do I know what version is available? Qt quick import. It looks like optional, so I'm down. Let's just kind of throw a like layout on here. Just kind of be like, well, oh my god, set ft equals QML JS, set expand tab, shift width equals 4, tab stop. Oh my god, it doesn't know, it doesn't know. All right, it's fine. So they're kind of complaining when I do this. I guess I don't really need to rebuild this every time, by the way. Do not create objects of type layout. Okay, that's not helpful. That's not helpful. Column layout. I definitely don't have to build every time, so I'm just gonna stop doing that. There we go. There's a little column layout. Here we go. Look at that. Look at that. So I still wanted to know though, Qt quick import version. Where do I like? It's just a one-to-one mapping between Qt version and Qt quick, so I'm just supposed to write 212 here, I guess, which is fine. Okay, so then let's do font size 64 again, and we should see that kind of apply immediately. Nope, not font size. Is it size? Point size? Text QML. Size. Font dot point size. I was close. There we go. Look at us go. Look at us go, baby. Okay. So here he's running, he says, which doesn't seem true. If I hit continue, something's happening. So it looks like our state management is just like fucking stupid in here. So let's take a look here. So let's take out these fucking sleeps. Okay. Here, I guess we print locals and we just leave the state as stopped. Okay. Then if they asked us to continue, then we continue. We forgot that part. There we go. And where do we set the state to run here? I guess here. State run. We have to compile this time. I forgot. Okay, so he says he's running. I think that's not true. Now I think he's stopped. Finished. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Somewhere for sure. It's all more that we probably want to set the stop state here unconditionally after we get out of await. And we probably want to go into the run state here anytime we're waiting. Surely. We'll see if that feels right. State management is hard. What's with the theme giving DBus errors? That seems weird. Yeah, I think it's just something's not hooked up right. Wait completed. Like, I don't really understand why I'm stuck in the running state on initialization. Something about that feels wrong. Something about that feels wrong to me. We are never seeing the stop state here, which is confusing. What I do seem to have to click continue once, so it just must not be here. Because like on launch, I guess our initial state is run, which makes sense. So we say we're running, we launch the thread. Oh, and I think that it pauses once off rip. But that seems also like it should be fine. We must just be in here. I guess our initial continue state should be true. That's probably where we've gone wrong. Is that we get into our first iteration and we think that the UI has asked us not to continue. There we go. That makes more sense. Okay, so when we click this button, we see the variable list printed, which is good for us. And then we get to the end, it's finished. Oh my god. Oh my god, we got there. Okay. Let's think about this. Do I want to keep going? I know that we spent like half an hour building Qt again, which resulted in a big pain in my ass. And it means that we didn't really accomplish much of anything today. But do I want to keep going? That's a question that I'm not sure about. I guess, yeah, fuck it. We'll go a little farther. We'll go a little farther. Let's at the very least show where we are stopped. Let's at least show where we're stopped. So show current file and line UI. We'll say that. All right. And this should be as simple as in our GUI bindings, we'll say set file, right? And we'll set line, set current file. And then set debugger state. Sure, that's fine. This is line as a i32, sorry, int, probably. Then in our app.h, we now have to have like file and line properties. Right, like this, and int mline. I'll probably change the style here. I don't really like the m prefix thing. Not the biggest fan, to be honest. But we'll live with it for now. And here we'll say, we could do this in C++ land, but I feel like it's nicer to do it in Qt land. I feel like we should do as much in QML land as possible so we don't have to recompile every time. So in reality too, this m document source should really be more like debugger state, stop state, debugger state. Now I worry a little bit about the idea here that I think we actually probably do want this to be a string. Because I don't think the enum to string mapping in QML will make sense. Because I don't think we'll have access to these debugger state fields. So I think it makes sense probably. I'm not 100% there, but I think it probably makes sense to do it here. So we'll call this where we're doing document source, we'll just call debugger state. Boom, boom. Okay. Then document source goes away. We don't really want this. I guess this should be a get debugger state. Like this. And this thing needs to be accessed through a mutex. So really we need to do it the right way. This is Q property debugger state. Read is get debugger state. Write is set debugger state. And notify is debugger state changed. All right. Okay, then we just need to apply this same thing to all of our guys. So we have qt property. This should be qstring here. We have int line, get line, set line, and line changed. Okay, we have the same thing for file. Oops. Line goes to file. And these changed should be uppercase, file changed. And then we need a file changed and line changed. These guys don't have values to emit. And I think that is fine with me. Okay. So now we need to implement those getters and setters. So, oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. So get file is returns m file. Get line returns m line. Set file is going to be straightforward, probably. This is going to come in as a car star. And so this just means that we call m files equal file. I think that the assignment operator will kind of cover that for us. I think. But who knows? We'll find out in a second. This needs to be emit file changed, and this has to be emit line changed. And then we should be able to go into like the QML side. And let's say, like, we're gonna say the button says continue, that's fine. But the text is gonna be like debug. Was debugger state, I think is what we called it. Debugger state. And then we're gonna say stopped at file line. I think that should be good enough. Although I guess we are never setting those things. And I probably forgot a semicolon somewhere that just fucked up everything. So undeclared identifier my some property. That's true. That's true. I just forgot to delete a thing. He's still mad this time about document changed. Fine. Fine, if you're gonna be like that. If you're gonna be like that. What's he pissed about? Error no from QString to const car star. Oh, okay. Set file. Wait, why? Wait, what's he complaining about? If I comment this out, is it broken still? Is he just saying that the assignment operator is no good? No, he's saying something a lot more interesting. No viable conversion from QString to debugger state? What am I missing here? So at set file in the generated code, he is trying to reinterpret cast to a QString. If I do this, is it totally fine? Is it possible that the Qt system needs to have like known types for the auto-generated stuff to work okay? He's still complaining here about QString to debugger state. Oh, because this, oh, I'm a dumbass. So this needs to be Sorry, my brain. Wait, no, this just feels fine. Debugger state. Oh, I wonder if these write functions actually just don't need to be implemented in terms of the property, because the property never gets to get written from the QML side. And I wonder if that's causing some confusion here, because it's trying to like propagate those types. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. So we're not actually showing where we're stopped yet because we didn't implement that, but that makes sense. Okay, so can we go back to the set file? So this should be able to be const char again. There should be no problem there. Should be. Yeah, he seems happy with that. And then can we go to GUI zig, and now just whenever we break, we should be able to here, instead of printing locals, or as well as printing locals, can we get source location? We deinit this thing with our allocator. This needs to be tried. And then we just call GUI dot, and we have to implement the C bindings. We have to implement the C bindings. We did that already, but we probably didn't implement them in GUI CPP. I don't remember doing that. All right, all right. And these are just as simple as passing through. Set current line goes to line, and set current file goes to file. Wow. Wow. He's mad because there's no member set current file. It's because we call it set file, actually. And set line for some reason. Stopped at here. So property do something of object handles not a function. That makes sense. So I don't know why this is still not working. Oh, because we didn't call it. We do need to call it. So lock file. I guess it's path. And we probably need lock path pointer and lock path len, to be honest. But this should be easy. Lock line. Okay. Because I think set current file, let's do this as oh, these guys also need the handle here, so we need a self GUI handle. Like this. Okay. And then our C bindings need this guy to have a len. Include stdint. Okay. Okay, okay. GUI CPP also needs that line or size. And then app.h needs the len. And then the question here becomes, do you do like QString? Does it copy the value? Let's look at QString constructors. I don't know if QStrings are going to copy it out into like its own heap managed memory, or if it is going to use it as a reference. Can we construct one of these from a, here we go, Unicode and length. Constructs a string initialized with the first size characters of the QChar array Unicode. If Unicode is 0, a null string is constructed. If size is negative, Unicode is point to a null terminal array. This makes a deep copy of the string data. Okay, so we should be able to do like a QString file len. Let's run it. Let's run it. Stood int not found. Oh, it's C stood int. How do I do this? Student.h, I guess. I'm just a dumbass. I'm just a dumbass. I like to fly away. No matching constructor. So I think that's because it was only for Q car stars, not for car stars, which is annoying. Annoying. Because, oh, also here it's size. Wow, that's annoying. That's actually really annoying. So I have to pass it null terminated. Why? That's so stupid. Unless Q string ref. No, Q string other, Q byte array. Maybe I can construct a Q byte array from data and size. So I guess you have to go through this. Welcome to Qt. Yeah. Whee! Okay. C import failed because unknown type name size t. But I included stood int. Is it, where is size t header? Is it not in stood int? Stood def, maybe? Maybe? Oh man, it's been a while, since I've had to deal with like order of include issues, right? So this worked in one file because I happened to have size t already defined before I imported this, but not in another file. Thank God. Okay. Stopped at debuggy.zig 16, continue, 19, 16, 19, 16, 19, 16, 19, 16, 19, 16, finished. I guess this at doesn't make sense anymore. So on the finished state, we need to make sure to clear the file and line thing. I guess maybe it's more here. We need to do something like, I think it's like this. How do you do this? JavaScript in QML. Yeah, okay. So here, you can do like an expression inline like this. So if I'm doing a property binding, I do like, I don't really know how this works. If I put colon squiggly braces here, am I allowed to do like a multi-statement property binding? Or do I have to like make a function? Here. Oh yeah, okay. So you can just return in this block. Sick. So here we go. If my API debugger state is equal to finished, then we return my API debugger state. Do I have semicolons? They don't. Else, we return this thing. And we shouldn't have to rebuild to get that. It should just kind of happen for free. So here, if I spam continue, look at that. Look at that. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Okay. I have had enough of this bullshit from the like, I think we spent a lot of time rebuilding Qt and spent some more time fighting with stuff that I didn't want to, but it's not the end of the world. What were we even fighting with? Oh, it was why the fuck is the Q resource file not working? I still have no idea why that's true. But I will try to take a peek at that off stream because there's something weird going on with the resource system that I don't get. But I think we will call it for today. There's more work to do, but that is all right. Why did you choose to use Qt for this? Because I wanted to. It feels like if you're like, what GUI framework should I use? Like Qt is towards the top of the list. It feels like I should be able to like if it was working, I think it wouldn't be that bad, right? It's the things that we're struggling with are more just like weird build systemy things that are a little bit more frustrating. So I think that Qt itself isn't the problem, and I think that working with QML is actually like generally not that bad. Like it feels pretty good to be able to just like the QML language itself is not awful. I think the C++ bindings are pretty rough. I'm not a big fan of Qt C++, but whatever. But you know, whatever. Yeah, we'll call it there. We'll be back tomorrow. Pretty sure we'll be back tomorrow. So, thank you for watching. If you like what we saw, we stream most days from around 12:30 Pacific time to 4 o'clock Pacific time. We went a little over today because of that fucking build system issue. I'm not. It wasn't really even an issue. I just deleted a bunch of build artifacts that I shouldn't have. So that's on me. But generally, we try to wrap up around 4. If you're on Twitch, there is a YouTube link in the Twitch description where you can swing by and check out all of our previous projects organized in playlists. So if you want to check that out, that's there. This code will end up on GitHub under the dsphero project. If you're watching on YouTube, there should be a Twitch link in the YouTube description. If you want to catch us live, swing by between 12:30 and 4 Pacific time. If you are trying to watch VODs and you're like, wait, 12:30 to 4, I only see 2 hours VODs. That's because the happy hour component is behind YouTube or Patreon paywalls. So if you want to support and get that access to those, hit the join button or join on Patreon. Otherwise, you know, the classic like, subscribe, Twitch Prime, and I will catch you guys later. YouTube, goodbye. Twitch, let's find someone to raid.